Alright guys, it's me, Andy, El Tiburon Vences. I'm right here with Mike Bazzel today. I had a couple questions to ask Mike. Mike, first off, I want to start off by saying what an amazing class you had this morning. Honestly, some of those exercises we were doing strength-wise were triggering different muscles in my body. First question I want to ask you as a strength and conditioning coach, just off top, just because I took your class and you're always involving the new things, what keeps you open-minded in learning and combining new things that you learn compared to a lot of old school trainers? I know a lot of people have their ways, but you're always manipulating different exercises and the new way of doing things. How is it that you continue to have an open mind to change the drill? Today was a lot different than I've done with you in the past, and I was hitting a lot of different muscles that I haven't used in a while.
Yeah, well, it's very important to keep, I don't know, you keep learning. You want to keep learning no matter what. So my whole philosophy in this profession, whether it be strength training, CUTMAN, boxing coach, trainer, whatever it is, whatever I'm doing to help the fighter, is always to try to continue to improve. I learn, every fight I'm ever involved in, I learn something new every single time. So how can I know everything if I'm always learning something new? So the same thing applies to strength training. I have a base of stuff that I've worked on throughout my career, and I believe in it. But there's so many things that if you keep an open mind, I meet different trainers. I love what they do, how they incorporate into helping the fighter. That's the key. It's always, if it works for the fighter in the ring, then you can implement it in the training. If it doesn't work, if something I'm doing, I believe in it, but it's just not connecting with the fighter in the ring. It's one thing to just work out and exercise. Everyone can do that. But if you're trying to help an athlete in a specific sport, and what you're doing for them in training doesn't really connect, it doesn't transfer, they don't get it, it's not working in the ring, then we get rid of it and we try something else. So for me to have something I believe in, maybe it doesn't work for Andy, for you, for someone else, for Charlie Sheehy or Bruno Escalante or Demetrius Andrade, any of those guys, then I got to say, well, shit, I need to have something, I need to investigate, find something more, something that I saw another trainer do. Maybe I have that trainer teach me, which I have many times done that. So that helps a lot. And, I always go the same thing, the same philosophy that Herb Stone told us years ago. As your career was coming up, you, Bruno, John Chicas, Tony Johnson, as you guys were coming up, the fights were getting a little harder. They weren't just the first 1 to 5 fights. The opponents were improving. Right. Herb sat us down. Hey, all the coaches, all of us. Hey, the fights are going to get harder. The athletes, the boxers, they got to get better. But so do you. As a trainer, you have to improve too. You have to put the time in. You have to get better. You have to continually to learn and perfect what I do. And I always took that to heart. And that's my philosophy I've used throughout the rest of my career since Herb said that to us.
Nice, Mike. All right, Mike, and I met you on my second pro fight. It was in Redwood City. My first pro fight, I had a man, all respect to Joe Cortez, who wrapped my hands. My first fight, I suffered an injury in my hand. I met you in my second pro fight. I have a list of questions to ask you. How many, first of all, just in years-wise, how long have you been in the fitness industry?
The fitness industry?
Just fitness industry.
Fitness industry since 93. Okay. 1993.
1993. Mike, why boxing and why a CUTMAN? Out of all positions, you could have been a trainer, you could have been an assistant, you could have been a strength trainer, which you are, but why the role of a CUTMAN?
Well, what had happened with that was actually the fighters, even to this day, I work in many corners where, to be honest, the strength trainer is in the corner with us. They might be not even know how to even put the stool in, but they're there. They help the fighter warm up in the back. They might, implement certain things to help the fighter. The fighter feels comfortable with them, because a boxer everyone thinks a fighter is like this fearless, caged animal, man. He's not afraid of anything, can take any challenge. You got to kill him to make him stronger. You can't, and that's not necessarily true. A fighter in the ring, they're really good at what they do, right? Not everyone can do it. Fighters that know how to box, that can take the pain, take the punishment, get up and do it again the next day. That's a very rare athlete. But as a strength trainer, basically what I believe we're trying to do is help not make them better, necessarily stronger fighters as far as like what they can do in the ring. It's actually to prepare their body to absorb what the other fighter's doing to them. The punishment. It's brutal. And sometimes the nervous system of a fighter is so dull to what they're doing, they don't even know that what they're getting. They don't even know the punishment they're getting. They don't know the concussive injuries they could incur every day. They don't even know. They don't even get it because they're just that type of athlete. The fighter athlete is a very different, unique athlete. So I'm being asked, I'm training these guys physically, and I'm being asked, hey man, come to the fight with me. Come to the fight with me. But I feel once I get to the corner, what am I doing here? I don't know how to wrap their hands. I didn't know how to, I became an absolute fastest bucket and stool guy there was.
Yeah,
I was very fast.
I was
very fast, man.
It's the first thing you do, right?
Super fast. So I tried to take pride even in something really not as easy as that, but as trivial as that. I tried to become very good at it. And then I started wrapping hands. I started trying to learn, implement it. And that was just because of necessity, really, because we were getting fights when I was working with Brian Schwartz at Undisputed. We were a boxing gym, but back in those days, 2005, 6, 7, MMA was legal in California. Well, no one wanted to box anymore. Everyone wanted to do MMA. And you could come off the street and you could be fighting on a Strikeforce card off the street, just a street fighter. You didn't have to have any training. So, but they still implemented Stitch Duran implemented the CUTMAN program for UFC, but they adopted that for Strikeforce too. So really, they had their own CUTMAN. I didn't really come in as anything. The CUTMAN wrapped the hands of the fighters just like the UFC does now. They did it. So we had brought a fighter to a fight. It was his first fight, and the CUTMAN was wrapping his hands, and he was like, don't worry, kid. If you have anything that goes wrong, if you see me in the cage with you, I'm gonna take care of any injury you have. And all of a sudden, we're taking this kid out, and this guy's wrapping somebody else. And he goes, hey man, I can't leave right now. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, we're going right now. You're our CUTMAN. What are you talking about? And he goes, hey man, I can't go. I gotta finish this kid. I'll meet you out there. I'll try to make it. We're like, what? Well, luckily our guy knocked his opponent out. There was no injury, no cuts, no nothing. But we came back and going, Brian was furious. You know how he got? Right. He's mad. He's like, what, you abandoned us, man? And after that, we sat down and we said, we're never going to let that happen again. If I'm coming to the fight, I'm going to learn how to wrap the hands. We won't need that guy. And I'm going to work the cuts. So that's how it's kind of started.
Right. Mike.
And it just blossomed from there.
Mike, and I've noticed, even though you work with some of the top names in boxing, Daniel Jacobs, Chocolatitos, I believe where I saw you the last fight, Nonito Donaire, Triple G, you were at the Regis Progress fight this past weekend as well. Even myself being cut, whoever's going through this moment, because these are life-changing moments for me as a fighter that I'm dealing with in the ring. We have a very close relationship, which I'm sure you do with a lot of other fighters. For example, Nonito Donaire, Bruno Escalante, Charlie Shee, who hasn't gone through what we've gone through. But how are you able to remain like so calm? Now, the reason why I mention this is because when I've seen you at the fights live, I try to yell your name, get your attention, and you're so focused in, you don't hear anybody. It's like you're just in the fight, like if you were fighting in the ring. How are you able to maintain the calmness, even though they have a relationship with someone, you're not in a panic mode? It's like super focused is what I noticed. You stopped me from bleeding. You were taking it round by round. How is it you're able to maintain that composure on someone you basically love and are so close to?
It's it's a lot of practice, but it's also, I absolutely love what I do, and I take it 100% serious, as I can be a factor in you not finishing that fight. Where that's not necessarily, like, blood is blood, cuts are cuts, right? But it's not that I'm trying to control the cut for you. That's one factor for you to continue to feel confident to go out and fight. You know, we clean you up, we stop the bleeding. You're still going to get hit, so it's still going to start bleeding again, probably in the action of the round. But like Stitch will say, if you try to keep that blood flow as a minimum until maybe the last minute of that 3-minute round, where obviously the action is starting, heating up, there's more blows are landed. But if the fighter's coming off the stool bleeding, that's not good. And it's not that I'm just trying to convince the fighter that he can continue to go. I'm looking at the doctors. And now there's usually 2 doctors that you have to convince. And they go with if one guy says, yeah, he's good, Bazzel's got it, but the other guy says, no, I don't like the cut, then stop him. They're not gonna argue, right? So you got to convince that. And I want you to look good coming off that stool, starting that round for the judges themselves. I want that. That's a very important factor. So it's not just the pressure of making sure the fighter believes in me, that I can take care of what is in front of us. You know, they're bleeding and stuff. They don't know what's going on, right? I try to keep the same visage of my face. I try not to, change my expression. If you see photos, my jaw is like this, or my eyes are a certain way. The same way, right?
Yeah.
Try to be the same expression. Let the coach talk. I'll be in there doing what I got to do. But the thing is there's a lot of factors. And the referee's involved too. So the referee will come, and he's looking too. He's watching what I'm doing. The inspector, our state athletic inspector, he's watching, or she's watching what we do. The doctor, they're looking at what we do. So it's a lot. The judges, right? Again, if he comes off the stool and he's starting to bleed more, he might be winning the round, but because he's bleeding, well, he's losing. He's losing in that round. And that's a big fact. In a close fight, these are all factors that you have to be. So if I'm not attentive, if I don't have a time while the round is going on to address the doctor's questions, that's not good, right? So if I'm not 100% focused, if I'm, got my phone and doing something, which I never even bring my phone, but if I'm looking at buddies in the ring or anybody's around me that's grabbing my attention, I've lost my edge. I lose my edge, right? And I mean, not that I'm not going to say, there can be anybody that can come in there and try to make me lose my edge, right? If somebody hears this and says, well, let's just go fuck with Bazzel, we're going to get him to, well, all we got to do is just bug him and he'll get all fucked up. No, it ain't going to happen, because 100% focus. And the fight day, I might be nervous. Again, you talk about loving somebody, love you, right? Want you to be successful. During the week, I feel nerves. I feel nerves for you. I feel nerves for fighters. I get that nervous feeling. I feel nerves for myself. I might even find myself during the week thinking about the fight, and I have a little bit of this going on. But on fight day, I have none of that.
I've noticed that.
It's gone, because this is my job. I have a job to do. He had to always put what was in the best interest of his fighter first. He always told me that. That was what I'm always going to do, what's in the best interest of my fighter, always. So sometimes he had to eat a lot of crap from these people to get what he wanted. He was a poker player. He knew how to play poker. He knew how to bluff. He knew how to hold his hand. If he had a great hand, he knew when to play it. That was part of Herb. He used that stuff, that as a great analogy for his way he managed things. And he had to play the matchmakers, play the promoter, play all that stuff. Even play the fighter and the trainer. He very rarely got involved with the fighter and the trainer, but he sometimes knew. One thing Herb would always say was, like we talked about earlier, bringing a string trainer in, right?
Yeah.
Why are they bringing this guy? Herb would go, why is he here? What he could ruin. He goes, Mike, you gotta watch this guy. If he stands up and he gets the fighter disqualified, we could lose for a guy that not knowing what to do, right? I had to coach the guy, tell him what to do. Herb was all those aspects he understood because he'd been in the game for so long. And he used to take me I used to drive him. Remember the Tachi Palace fights, anything to LA. I would drive Herb. It wasn't that Herb didn't want to drive. It's he would talk to me and he would teach me. He would tell me the stories. He would teach me. He made me sit down for lunch and dinner with promoters and managers and other managers to get to know him.
Yeah, and the thing about Herb too is I noticed as much as I didn't want to leave my first trainer, he gave me that advice. Hey, if you want to get better, you need to start doing some head movement. I think you need to go to, which is where you were also training at the time, was the Undisputed Gym.
Yeah.
Brian, he was always honest and real about what I was going to need to reach the next level. And he was also open to me doing my own moves when I went to Florida Senior, and we ended up going there and having so much success. All right, Mike, your last question. Now, this is a different kind of interview. You've been in many training camps. You've been around world champions. You continue to train around the best and be the best person you can. To me as a fighter, it seems that to me, I look at you like I know you as family, as boxing, but you're on the biggest cards, you're on the biggest platforms. I understand that. What is your end goal? What is your overall goal in boxing? Because it seems you've already done it all. As far as you're coaching the best fighters in the ring with the best, on the biggest cards, whether it's pay-per-view, PBC, Top Rank. Where do you want to go, and how do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
You know what? Honestly, it's literally. Talked about this with Stitch a lot.
Okay.
And because Stitch is 10 years older than me, 10 or 11 years older. So he's like, they go, Stitch, man, when are you gonna retire, man? When are you gonna do this? He says, it's the same line I used. Retire from what? What is this? Don't even work. This ain't work. This is love. This is like a passion. This is like I pinch myself. I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing. Every fight is a new experience, to be honest. Even if even if you come from a fight that's, I mean, this last year, to be honest with you, Katie Taylor, I was with Katie Taylor when she fought Amanda Serrano at the Madison Square Garden. One of the highlights of my whole career. That was, I mean, it was goosebumps. When both of them walked out, both of their walkouts, at the end of the fight, cleaning both of them up. It was an amazing night. And that is something that, I mean, my goodness, it's like, those are rare. But also it's like to be involved in that is special. And yeah, there is that adrenaline that like, I want to do it again. I want to be involved in the big fights again. But I also like the smaller cards, the fighters that are coming up. All that stuff is very important because again, you learn something new and each and every time you go out there, each and every time. Doesn't matter if it's a big stage, doesn't matter if it's small, you learn something new. It's a 4-round fight. I listen to how the coaches try to communicate to their fighter. And it could be a 4-rounder of a kid's pro debut or second or third fight. And the coach has been with them in their amateur days, but now they're in the professional ranks. And the coach is he knows that kid since he was a teenager, his whole life, but he's trying to communicate to this guy something. I learned that's interesting how he said that. I learned something about that. How does he do that? That taught me something, right? It taught me something. He had that kid change him. He had him adjust. I don't want to have an end game, to be honest with you.
That's awesome.
If I die climbing up into the ring, that's going to be good. If I die teaching a class, that's all right with me. There's an old saying, you want to die with your boots on, which means you're dying on the road. You're not in bed with my boots off. And
what keeps you humble though, Mike? Because I've noticed you mentioned the 4-round fights. Because I've noticed you'll even help an opponent who has no coach, has no trainer.
Yeah.
What keeps you so like just open, even to helping the guys that are nobody, knowing you've already been there, but you're willing to even be at this level, the ground level?
It's such a great challenge. It's such a great challenge. It's such a great test of whatever skills that I've developed. I want to test them. If it's always the big thing, or it's always you're working with an elite fighter, you know, sometimes those guys, you know, Freddie Roach, like with Pacquiao, for example, Freddie's like, I don't teach Pacquiao anymore.
Right.
He teaches me sometimes. He goes, I've taught him everything. He knows. So some fighters, there's a ceiling, and you don't want to be in that way. But also maybe take a new fighter and teach them. Like I get to work with a guy, you know, Chris Algieri. You know Chris.
Yes, I do.
Chris is coachable, man. All the experience he's had and everything he's done,
He's still open.
he's open to being coached. He's open to teach me that. He'll ask questions about those things. And Demetrius Andrade, same way. He's coachable. He's open to learn more, right? Even though he's been in that stage for so long. Triple G, working with Triple G, he's a guy that he might not necessarily ask you, but he will observe everything you do. Everything there. When I had Chris Camacho was a strength trainer, right? And Chris would tell me, he goes, G watches everything. The reason I'm there is because G believes in what I do. But he's watched me. Don't think that he's not watching what you're doing. And I always take that as a compliment, or not a compliment. I take it as not even a challenge, but I take it as I'm going to be consciously aware of what I'm doing each and every time I step in the gym, each and every time I step in the ring. If I'm in the back dressing rooms, I'm going to be aware of everything I do. Somebody's watching.
All right.
So if I'm not doing what I should be doing preparation-wise, I need to be able to, I need to check myself on that. And that motivates me. That keeps everything fresh. You know, not just coming in and going, what are we doing, man? We've been here before. Don't worry, man. We're good. No, never. You'll never see me do that. Ever see me do that. I'm always working on preparing. That Tom Brady quote, man, that I always think in my head, you know, when they played that year, he played with the Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars were a young team. They had beaten the Patriots like 2 years in a row during the season, but now they were playing them in the playoffs. And the guy asked him, he said, Tom, you must feel confident, even though they've had your number. This is a young team with no playoff experience, and they kind of had you guys' number, but now you're in the new season now. You must feel super confident with all your experience that you can handle these guys. And he said, hey, I'll take preparation and performance over experience any day of the week. Because you can have all the experience in the world, but if you don't apply that, if you don't prepare to perform, then that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean what I did last week. Doesn't mean what I did last weekend. If I fall flat on my face because I didn't prepare, I didn't perform, then that's on me, and that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
That's awesome, Mike. All right, guys, this is Mike Bazzel, someone who's been a mentor to me. He's in my family. Obviously, I'll be training. Sometimes I don't talk to him for months. When we do, it's like we talked yesterday. He's so busy. You'll see him on probably every fight card. Anyways, Mike Bazzel, I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for the class this morning. And thank you for everything you've done in my life.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you.